Lasike, tiny limb ball into the 22.
Hello and welcome to Eagle Eyed. I'm Bill Baker. Today we have Eagle number 517, Will Hooley. Will and I talk about his time with the Saracens thus far, including this Saturday's matchup with fellow Eagle Paul Lasike's Harlequins. We also go into the impact that Blaine Scully, Chris Wiles, and others had on his decision to play for the U.S., a decision that he has not looked back on. It's a fun conversation. Hope you enjoy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Training's going pretty good for you, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's going really well. It's a really challenging environment, but at the same time, a really kind of rewarding environment as well. I mean, challenging because you've got guys there who are been there for years and come through the system, but also guys who are internationals, British and Irish Lions. The standard is incredibly high, and the intensity of the training is extremely high as well. That's where it's been challenging, but at the same time, it's been brilliant for me personally to be in and around that constantly, and I can feel myself already just getting better as a player, and it's rewarding in the sense that I hope to become a better player because of it.
Right, and not to put down Bedford by any means, when you're playing against or with 14 other elite players at that level, it makes you a better player as well.
Yeah, look, it's only going to make me better because, like you just said, it's your skills as a professional are sort of dictated by one, how you get on board with how much you want to put yourself into the training, how much you want to get out of it and everything. But obviously the people around you, I'm incredibly fortunate. I mean, just throwing a couple of names out there, the likes of Owen Farrell, Elliot Daly, Jamie George, Mara Toje. I mean, these guys are world rugby sort of renowned, and it wasn't that long ago that I was playing them at the World Cup. But now teammates, and you realise how they see the game, both on and off the field, and it's made me realise, where I can improve for me to become a better player. And so on, I'm just going to try and grab it with both hands.
Last time we communicated, it was about how you're doing with quarantine and the pandemic. Now, how has that changed now with the club? What precautions are Saracens and the league taking?
Don't get me wrong, it's not normal life, particularly here in the UK. I think as rugby players, we're tested twice a week. So we're basically tested kind of like over like a 3-4 day period, especially building up towards a match. And we've got matches not just at the weekends now. We've got a game this Saturday, we've got a game next Wednesday, and then we've got a game the following Monday. It's kind of the whole structure of the week is a bit mental. Right. It's like 9 games over 6 weeks. It's going to be a bit of chaos. Yeah, exactly. Look, life is as normal in terms of me going to training each day, and then when I'm at the club, it's normal. But there's no crowds. We have this testing in place. We've got to be very careful how often we go out, to restaurants and cafes, because ultimately, if we come back with a positive test, COVID-19 test, that can really put the team at jeopardy from playing at the weekend, which is, tough because you can get this disease by just going to the store down the road, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so it's been different, but it's, for me personally, just the day in, day out of training and whatever is definitely in the last sort of couple of months, we're kind of back to normal, which is nice because I needed normality. I was driving myself and probably my partner nuts as well, just being at home and
she wants you out of the house.
Not really doing that. Exactly.
So other than COVID, I know the Premiership has restrictions on game time because of all these matches in the next 6 weeks, and then you also have Champions Cup. How is that affecting you as well and your teammates?
It's actually, to be honest, a good thing for someone like myself as a new arrival coming into the club, because I'm pretty much guaranteed to be getting some game time over the next however long, which is fantastic because if I'm honest, I signed my contract for Saracens back in late January, early February. So before COVID-19 hit the world, or certainly here in the UK, I signed thinking I was coming first season into the Championship in England rather than the Premiership.
Right.
So actually this period now of finishing off the Premiership and me playing Premiership rugby is kind of like a bit of a bonus. And I'm really trying to just view it like that. I'm not going to get too stressed with selection and whatever. I'm really trying to just knuckle down, learn my stuff, improve and really get into the environment, settle into the culture, which hopefully I seem to be doing. Yeah, for me, the fact that we have games on the weekend and midweek, it gives that opportunity for the whole squad to, play. So for me, I'm hoping to be playing very shortly in the next within the next week, and looking forward to that and taking the opportunity.
So going into this Saturday, let's just say you're selected, and pre-match you walk up to Lasike, say hello, do your pleasantries, and as you're walking back to your club, are you going through your head, oh crap, I got to tackle this guy? Is that even a thought? I mean, you're a big guy, you can handle yourself, but he's a battering ram.
We've had some. I was actually, although it was a late change, but I was on the bench last weekend against Bristol, and they have this. They brought a couple of new players in. One of them is called Semi Radrada, who is a Fijian international and is known to be a big physical presence on the field. He's a centre in the back line. And it's just, I don't know, even in my career, and, I've been playing professional rugby now for, I think, 8 years, guys just seem to be getting bigger, stronger, more powerful. And, yeah, it's almost like you try and not think about it. If you think about it too much, then you start being like, oh, gosh, like, what am I doing? But yeah, it's the nature of our game, and it's a game for, what's the saying of different shapes and different sizes, isn't it? So obviously my position is more of a tactician rather than being a brute up front. But at the same time, you need those. And so, yeah, I just got to hope that I don't confront too many big guys on the pitch too often and try and keep myself healthy and
prolong your career.
Indeed.
So the other side of things where it's not physical at all is your kicking game. And I don't know what happened, but I saw you lose a competition recently.
Right. There you go. Yeah, well, I hit the post. Yeah, I hit the post. No, it's great. Kicking is one of those things which it's very personal. It's very few times on a rugby field that you've got the ability to kind of take control of the game through your action, quite literally putting points on the board. And it's a very important role. I mean, if you look like someone in the NFL, you can quite literally get a job from kicking the ball through the uprights. So it's one of those things where it's a big pressure. And sometimes I do think, God, why do I do this? There's the stress, there's the pressure. But then obviously when it goes well, it's you feel great. And I've had times when sometimes it hasn't gone well, and times when it's gone brilliantly, and you feel, I guess, like the hero. But you've got to also put yourself under pressure in your training. So doing like little competitions, the one you're on about there, which was great, to have a bit of competition. So that was with Manu Vinapola, who's another number 10 in the Saracens squad. And it was good fun, it's even, I think we did like best out of 3 kicks from difficult areas of the pitch. And fortunately, my last one at the end hit the post. But you need to replicate the pressure you're going to get in games, because ultimately you might find yourself, that last play of the game and trying to, put the winner through the post and try and be that hero. So you got to try and replicate it in training.
Well, and speaking of that, I mean, that was the Samoa match. Earlier in the match, you had that slip up. Pretty easy kick coming from a guy who was, loose forward, always told never kick the ball. Obviously, that probably was in the back of your mind. But then in full time, here you are to win a match. I mean, I can't imagine that pressure.
Yeah, look, the Samoa game was obviously a highlight of certainly my kicking career. And it's one of them where I think sometimes as a kicker, you prefer the harder kick compared to the easier kick. Now, actually, the one you talk about, the one I missed, I literally slipped over on my backside. That's not what you want. And I remember even one of the Samoan players sort of picked me up from the floor, and it was genuinely, he was like, "Oh, sorry, bro, like, happens to us all." Because, I it's not as though I had struck it poorly or anything like that. I literally slipped. There was nothing I could do. But then to be given the chance to, last play of the game, to have a kick in a much more difficult position, to win it. It was almost as if I was actually reasonably relaxed. It was almost as if, like, right, stick to you stick to your process. You get on with it, and you can think about the kick rather than the outcome as best as you possibly can. And unfortunately for me, that day went over, and we won the game.
Going back a few years, so you played for England U18, U20, and then, of course, in the 2013 Junior World Championships, you guys just dismantled USA. Let's not go too far into that. And you kicked a bunch of conversions. But how do you score 109 points and you not score a try? Pretty much everyone else is scoring tries.
I know. I've scored many points in my life in my boot, but not too many tries. Yeah, I need to really work on that. I think it's just the nature of my position. I'm more of an assist rather than a scorer, I guess. But with a scoreline like that, you think I could have had some of the fun. It's funny. One of my first roommates that I ever had in a US camp was Mikey Teo, and loved Mikey. And I remember he must have been jet lagged because we were in Germany, but obviously I came over from the UK, so I wasn't jet lagged. And he was sleeping, came into the room, introduced myself, and he was a bit like, "Well, wait a minute, I think I know you." Like, Mikey played for the US in that game in that 109-0, and we just sat there laughing about it. And,
oh my goodness!
And then obviously, the next thing is, I'm playing for the USA, and I don't always want to talk about it too much now because I played in the USA, so it's distant memory. So, but yeah, unfortunately, again, that's sometimes one of those games you get the upper hand and you run away with it.
Well, you can only just kind of laugh about it after, So, I mean, we all know you qualify for USA via grandparent. Just briefly, not to go deeply into it, but how did that whole process happen? Were you reached out by USA, or did you contact them?
I've told this story a couple of times before, and every time I tell it, I think people were a bit like, "Really?"
Yeah.
So I was actually playing for Exeter Chiefs at the time in the Premiership, and long story short, we played against Worcester at Worcester, and my dad had come to watch the game with my partner, and he sat next to this couple, and the couple were Americans. My dad, very chatty guys. My dad's mum, who was born and raised Californian girl, and just talked about the US, this, that, whatever, and dad's memories were anyway. By the end of the game, the couple were very much kind of like, "Well, why are you here?" You basically, my dad was like, "Well, my son's on the pitch, came on for about 20 minutes. I think I did pretty well." And lo and behold, the gentleman in that couple was a guy called Mark Lambourne, who was on the board of directors for the USA Rugby. And it was literally, he goes, "Well, hold on a minute. I'll put two and two together. That means that your son Will is, he can qualify for the US." I'm not going to lie. At the time, I was a few emails were exchanged between me with the head coach at the time, who was John Mitchell, and had some good communication. And they watched me over the next few months. But at the same time, I was obviously had played for England, so therefore my ambitions at the time were kind of within the English system, if that putting it respectfully. But I think my dad always knew that I could represent the US, and I think because it's his side of the family, he was always quite kind of like, "Oh yeah," And for me, it just eventually, I spoke to a whole bunch of people about it. Big long conversations with Dave Hodges, who was team manager at the time, Blaine Scully, who was he was captain at the time, but obviously now retired, and then Chris Wells. For me, it was just like the opportunity to be part of the US, not just for my family side of things, but to be part of a growing, game and a growing team was just like, I didn't want to be that person who tries to jump on it maybe in the latter part of their career just to go to a World Cup. Like, I really wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be part of something going forward. And those are the big conversations I remember having with Blaine, putting USA Rugby into a different league to where we maybe were at that time in 2017, 16. And so, that's kind of how I then eventually said, I want to get involved. And I kind of pinched myself because over the next few weeks, I was on a plane to Germany, as I think I mentioned before, and was in my first camp in 2017. And the rest is history. And I'm not just saying this to be nice to you and to viewers, but by far the best decision I've made in my rugby career. I've absolutely loved it. And I feel very blessed to be able to represent the US. I know my family feels Blessed as well because it means a lot. For me, I've got a lot of unfinished business with the US going forward.
Yeah, and that's great. And since you've joined, you've been a part of some big wins with USA. You talked about Samoa a minute ago, and obviously Scotland. I couldn't watch that game live, so I ended up watching about 2 a.m. And it was such a solid performance by everybody on that pitch. Was there a noticeable difference between the way the whole team played compared to, say, a match prior or after? Was there a different mentality going into that match?
Well, to be honest, that whole tour, it's definitely one of the best tours I've been on. 2018 summer, and we had a really good week's camp in Denver. Trained really hard, got into really good shape, and then we actually the following week played Russia. And the Russians, are actually a good little side. We absolutely wiped the floor of them, and I played 15 that day and really enjoyed it. We were playing some really good stuff with backs and forwards, and our confidence was pretty good when we eventually came down to Houston to prepare ourselves for the Scotland game. And I think there was just this genuine belief we can beat Scotland. We watched their game against Canada the week before and they won comfortably, but we were confident in our game plan and we were all sort of really upbeat, as I say, after this last performance. And it was not going into the game thinking, let's just give it our best shot and see what happens. It was going into the game and be like, we're gonna go and win this. Yeah. And I think that is the massive mentality difference, I think, maybe for us as a team is going into these big games of being like, we're not just there to take part. We're not there to try and do well and keep the scoreline reasonably low. We're there to win stuff. My biggest thing now is I just don't want that one win to be a one-off. I want us to win more games, go to World Cups and win games at World Cups and genuinely be challenging. So everyone has that good experience from that Scotland game. It was an incredible night, and it's definitely probably the best game that I'm not saying it was my best performance, but the best game I've been involved in. Which was just special. So definitely one for the memory books.
So moving forward, what does the future hold for you? I know you're in the now. I mean, you're concentrating on Saracens, but I mean, is there a chance maybe down the road you may come across the pond, maybe play a little MRR? I mean, a number of years from now.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Look, obviously we're talking about here and now. I've just arrived and signed a contract at Saracens, who are one of the best club sides in the world. So I feel very grateful. I've worked hard to get into this position, and I'm going to just try and take the opportunities that we talked about earlier before as best as possible. And then hopefully me getting better as a player when I then come with the US and we come into camp and we got internationals in the future, hopefully then I can be better. The team then, we can be better because guys are playing week in, week out of the MLR and the MLR is getting better. Guys who are playing overseas are playing quality. So I'm just hoping that, as I say, I can be the best that I can be when playing for the US. Playing for Saracens is going to massively help that. In the future, though, I think what I've realised with COVID-19 is rugby and probably sport in general is it puts things into perspective. I think COVID-19, when actually it's very sort of short-term sport. Yeah. And you've got to realise that you've got to try and grab every opportunity you can because actually, for me, even though I am young, it's not going to be all that far away until I probably have to retire and my name will be off the face of the rugby map. But and therefore, I want to take opportunities if something pops up in the MLR in the future that I think would be great for not just me, but also my partner as well. Yeah, for sure. Because I want to, experience it because I think it's a really great competition and it's only going one way and on the up. But also I want to help USA Rugby because if I, can help and be part of an MLR team and drive and help just make it better. I'm not saying just for me, but to be part of it would be phenomenal and then that again will help the national team. The big thing which I remember Blaine Scully always said to me right at the beginning was about coming into the US system, making the shirt your own in whatever aspect, and then leaving it in a better place when you do eventually retire. And for me, I've got a massive drive. I want to make USA Rugby as best as possible. And for sure, I think that might be an opportunity to go and play in the MLR and then, of course, help the national team as well.
Well, if and when you get to that point, let me know. I know the CEO of the Free Jacks would love to have you.
Well, I'll keep my contacts close to me. Yeah. So Look, I honestly, I'm not just saying it in sort of cliche, but it would be definitely something I've stressed that me and my partner have looked into in due course, because it's just something which I'd love to experience, and as I say, do the best I can with.
Will, good luck in the future. Good luck. Hoping to see you this weekend. But yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Bill. No, I appreciate it. And like I say, hopefully the game can grow even more in the US. So doing stuff like this is always, something which I'm very keen to do. So yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Will, cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, Bill. Bye now.